What happens when the CEO's daughter goes undercover as a cleaner? She uncovers secrets so dark they could bring down an empire and change her life forever. The bustling corporate office of Whitmore Industries in New York City hummed with activity. Employees typed furiously at their desks, while the CEO, Mr. Harold Whitmore, addressed a board meeting in a glass-walled conference room. His daughter, Emily Whitmore, stood in the corner of the room, unnoticed. She watched her father with a mix of admiration and curiosity. He was a powerful man, a titan of industry, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the company than what met the eye. In her penthouse apartment later that evening, Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror. She was dressed in a sleek designer outfit, but in her hands, she held a janitorial uniform. Her father had always told her, to lead a company, you must understand it from the ground up. Emily had decided to take his advice literally. She would go undercover as a cleaner to see the real workings of Whitmore Industries. No filters, no illusions. The next morning, Emily arrived at the office disguised as Maggie, a new cleaner hired through a temp agency. Her hair was tied back, her face free of makeup, and her demeanor unassuming. She was given a mop and a cart of cleaning supplies and sent to the 15th floor. As she pushed her cart through the rows of cubicles, she felt a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. This was her chance to see the truth, but she had no idea what she was about to uncover. Emily's first few days as a cleaner were uneventful. She mopped floors, emptied trash bins, and wiped down desks. The employees barely noticed her, which was exactly what she wanted. But as she moved through the office, she began to overhear snippets of conversations that made her uneasy. One afternoon, while cleaning near a cluster of cubicles, she overheard two employees whispering to each other. "Did you hear about the layoffs?" one of them said. "They're saying it's budget cuts, but I heard it's because of the offshore accounts." The other employee quickly shushed them. "You know we're not supposed to talk about that. Whitmore doesn't want anyone digging into the numbers." Emily's eyes narrowed as she pretended to clean a nearby desk. Offshore accounts? Layoffs? She made a mental note to investigate further. Later, in the break room, she overheard another conversation between two mid-level managers. "The new safety regulations are going to cost us a fortune," one of them said. "But Whitmore said to cut corners wherever we can. If OSHA finds out, we're screwed." The other manager nodded grimly. "Yeah, but what choice do we have? He's not going to risk the bottom line." Emily's heart sank. She knew her father was ruthless in business, but this was something else entirely. Cutting corners on safety? Exploiting workers? She couldn't ignore what she was hearing. She needed to dig deeper. Over the next few weeks, Emily began to uncover the dark underbelly of Whitmore Industries. Using her access as a cleaner, she snuck into restricted areas, photocopied confidential documents, and even planted a small recording device in her father's office. What she discovered shocked her to her core. The company had been covering up environmental violations at its manufacturing plants, falsifying safety reports, and exploiting workers in overseas factories. Worse still, there was evidence of embezzlement and illegal lobbying to sway government regulations. Emily's hands trembled as she reviewed the evidence in her apartment late one night. This wasn't just corporate greed, it was criminal. Her best friend and confidant, Sarah, walked in and found Emily surrounded by stacks of documents and a laptop filled with incriminating files. "Emily, what are you doing?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with concern. "This is your father's company. If you expose this, it could destroy him. And you." Emily looked up, her eyes filled with determination. "I know," she said quietly. "But if I don't do something, who will? This isn't just about my family anymore. It's about the people who are being hurt by this company. I can't turn a blind eye to that. Sarah sighed, knowing there was no talking Emily out of it. Okay, she said, but you need to be careful. If your father finds out what you're doing, there's no telling how he'll react. Emily nodded, her resolve unwavering. She knew the risks, but she also knew she had to see this through. The truth had to come out, no matter the cost. The next day, Emily returned to the office, her cleaner's disguise firmly in place. But this time she wasn't just there to clean. She had a plan. Using the evidence she had gathered, she began to subtly plant seeds of doubt among the employees. She left anonymous notes in break rooms, sent encrypted emails to whistleblower hotlines, and even slipped a USB drive filled with incriminating documents into the hands of a trusted journalist. As the days passed, whispers of corruption began to spread through the office. Employees started asking questions, and the tension in the air was palpable. Emily knew it was only a matter of time before her father caught wind of what was happening. One evening, as Emily was cleaning her father's office, he walked in unexpectedly. Harold Whitmore was a tall, imposing man with a commanding presence. He looked at Emily, or rather, Maggie, with a frown. "You're here late," he said, his voice cold. Emily kept her head down, her heart pounding. "Just finishing up, sir," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Harold studied her for a moment, his eyes narrowing. "You look familiar," he said. "Have we met before?" Emily's breath caught in her throat. She shook her head quickly. "No, sir. I'm new here." Harold nodded, seemingly satisfied, and turned to leave. But as he reached the door, he paused. "You know," he said without turning around, "it's funny. You remind me of my daughter." Emily froze, her mind racing. Did he know? Had he figured it out? But before she could respond, Harold walked out, leaving her alone in the office. The next morning, the story broke. A major news outlet published an explosive report detailing the corruption at Whitmore Industries. The article included photos of falsified documents, recordings of incriminating conversations, and testimonies from anonymous employees. The company's stock plummeted, and calls for an investigation grew louder by the minute. Harold Whitmore was furious. He called an emergency board meeting, his face red with rage. "Whoever is behind this will pay," he thundered. "I will not let this company be destroyed by some coward hiding in the shadows." But as the meeting progressed, Emily walked in, no longer disguised as a cleaner, but dressed in a sharp business suit, her head held high. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "Dad," she said, her voice steady, "it's over. The truth is out, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." Harold stared at her, his expression a mix of shock and betrayal. "Emily? What is the meaning of this?" Emily took a deep breath. "I did this because I couldn't stand by and watch you destroy lives for the sake of profit. This company has lost its way, and it's time to make things right." The board members exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to do. Harold sank into his chair, his face pale. For the first time in his life, the mighty Harold Whitmore was at a loss for words. In the weeks that followed, Whitmore Industries underwent a massive overhaul. The corrupt executives were ousted, and new leadership was brought in to rebuild the company's reputation. Emily, now a hero to the employees, took on a prominent role in the company, vowing to lead with transparency and integrity. As for Harold, he retreated from the public eye, his legacy forever tarnished. But in a rare moment of vulnerability, he admitted to Emily that he was proud of her for having the courage to stand up for what was right. The story of the CEO's daughter who went undercover to expose the truth became a symbol of hope and justice, inspiring others to fight for change, no matter the odds. And for Emily, it was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where she could finally lead with her heart, not just her name.